So our next session will have more of a use case related to demonstration of AI tools. So I hope all of you are comfortably sitting, right? बहुत कुछ हो गया अभी तक. आपने अगर ग्रुप में अगर आप एडेड नहीं है तो प्लीज़ ऐड हो जाइए. आपके बगल वाले को अगर वो व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में, और लुक फॉर समबडी नियर बाई हु इज इन द ग्रुप बिकॉज देयर इज अ क्यूआर कोड ऑफ द ग्रुप. So now I would request my friend Rupesh Agarwal to please escort our guest speaker CA Narsimhan sir on the dais. So I would request all to please settle down and please play the profile of the speaker. So I quickly introduce sir. Sir is a technology and risk enthusiast. Sir has been doing. Sir is a cyber security auditor and is a keynote speaker. His area of expertise. His area of expertise includes cyber security audit, IT attestation, auditing emerging technologies such as AI, big data, IoT. Sir is a faculty for Disha, CISA, and other certification courses, even the AI certification courses. Sir is a faculty. So, Sir has been, and he has addressed ISACA International, Europe, North America, and several other chapters. Sir has even written books. So, let's not waste much of time. And I introduce Sir to please, take the session from here and show us live demonstrations. Before I do so, I would request R.K. Bidasaria ji to please offer a bouquet to Sir. ये वाला लैपटॉप हटा लीजिए यहाँ से.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you. Wishing, first of all, a very happy Women's Day. And before even I get started, I think I want to make a mention of 3 women who constantly have inspired and have made me what I am today. First is, of course, my mother. A big thank you, Ma, for giving me the whatever is necessary and showing me in life that challenges will keep coming and you need to keep on going ahead. Second is my sister, who was one of my inspiration to do CA, as she was doing a CA and I also decided that I will be doing it. And third is the lovely lady, luck of my life, my wife, without whom I don't think, especially post-marriage, the amount of support she's given me, I think I seriously owe a lot to her. And I'm sure each of you have a lot more in your personal life as well. So on that note, let me quickly get started. And I'm sure in the world today, we have hardly any of us who are not using AI. I think that's the word we'll have to talk. And let me be very, very honest, AI does not mean ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one of an example of AI. If I could request audience to settle down, please. It is disturbing the flow for the rest. Can we request the audience to settle down, please? It'll take probably less than 2 minutes. It'll be good if you can settle down. Otherwise, the concentration tends to get diverted. Okay. Be that as it may, hopefully my voice is clear enough. Let's get going. First and foremost, let us understand in a layman's parlance what is AI. And then we'll also see where this evolution is heading into, right? And I'll quickly give you one perspective of what is changing. The biggest thing which is changing is what you see on this image today. Can you see a machine which is probably reading, or a robot which is reading? Whereas humans are probably using a mobile phone, whereas a machine or a laptop or a robot is probably reading. And I read this, I think this was a good 5 to 6 years back. I thought it was just for fun. And the title was Humans Are Hooked, Machines Are Learning. I just laughed. Humans are hooked. Matlab they're hooked to the mobile phone, right? And it happens with all of us, right? Within 10 minutes of a lecture or a session is over, we go back to our mobile phone, start browsing it, right? And it's the, what do you call, attention deficiency which these mobile phones have brought in. But on the other side, what these mobile phones are doing is it is learning from you every time you're using it. A simple example is you are browsing something on LinkedIn or you're seeing something on YouTube or Instagram. Every time you read something or hear something, the next suggestion of the video which you get is something quite similar to that of what you have read or searched. To give an example, whenever I go to YouTube, I get all advertisements relating to AI courses. Because my search in YouTube is all about probably on AI, machine learning, data science, something on those lines. If I go to Instagram, right, let us say for some reason I saw some particular type of a comedy video or a genre or something which was poetic, and I spend 30 seconds or 10 seconds looking at that reel without swiping it. The machine realizes that my attention towards that particular video is higher, and therefore it should prompt me more information relating to that. And that is how machines are learning. But look in the domain of finance, what's happening? Earlier, your bank, I'll give you a simplest example. The bank, the moment you go to an ATM, you insert a card, you get the money out. But then if you see, it knows that last time you have withdrawn 10,000 rupees, and it gives you as a suggestion that would you like to withdraw 10,000 instead of going to second or third option, right? This is not machine learning. Let's be very, very clear. This is a simple rule based on last time what has happened. It is remembering it. The next time you try at 20,000, it will probably remember at 20,000, not at 10,000. But then what is machine learning? Instead of showing you theory, shall I show it to you live? Yeah. So what we will do, I'll do a very small exercise. Okay. Google has, hopefully you're able to see my screen visible. Yeah. So Google has this very interesting concept. It is called as teachable machine. Sir, increase, it'll come, sir, it'll display. Yeah. It is a simple teachable machine with Google where using simple image, let us try to identify how machines are learning, right? And I generally believe in showing certain things more practical so that it goes into our head. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to quickly get started with a small project which I'm going to show you live. Now this is an image project. In this website, there's a publicly available website, anybody can pick it up. I'm going to quickly go and show a standard image project where I'm going to be uploading certain files, right? And these are 10 or 12 bank statements which I have, and these are fake bank statements, right? These are fake bank statements because they have been arbitrarily adjusted numbers or anything. And what I do, I go to this class and I name them as fake. Clear? So what did I do? I took a set of photos and I gave them a nomenclature. And I go to another scenario, right? And this time around, I'm going to choose another set of photos, right? I'll probably choose 10 in this case because the other two I want to use it for testing, right? And here I have uploaded these 10 and I have set them as original. A very simple exercise. Uploaded 10 photographs. You can upload your photograph and your spouse's photograph, your photo and probably Shah Rukh Khan's photograph, whatever you want to, right? I've just given a simple example which we'll be able to relate. Now I have told the system, hey, with these photos, kindly train yourself, right? Whether it is the first photograph or second photograph, I will test your simple knowledge because some of them in the organizer said we're going to have a quiz to test your knowledge. So what I've done, I am just going to allow this model to be trained, and what I will do, I will now go and upload a file, right? And let's upload this file number 11. Can you see below what is happening? Can you see a barcode there? it is slightly tending more towards a pink, which is 92%, and it is called as original. Right? Now I'm going to upload a fake image. Let us see what happens. Are you able to see the difference? My dear friends, this is the basics of machine learning. A machine has a capability to learn from a certain image, audio, video, object, or your past experiences, or even your past navigation history. And this is exactly what happens when we have a flight ticket booked on our email ID. You get a recommendation that you have to leave at this time from Google Maps, because it knows the Kolkata traffic at this point in time will probably be slightly more dense versus not being so intense. I hope you're able to understand. And this is the first principle of machine learning. The ability of a machine to learn from data, right? And it is that sort of an advanced capability which machines have. Now that you've understood this, we also need to spend some time on the evolution or the history of it. This was way back in 1950s, and let me tell you, AI is not a new buzzword which we are speaking of today. It has been historically in the past. Interestingly, there was a mathematician called Alan Turing. And what this gentleman did was, way back in the 1950s, he came up with one simple theorem. He said, if you are speaking with a person and you are not able to identify, you are speaking with a person and a machine, right? There is a covered, a dark glass. You are speaking on one side with a machine, you are speaking on one side with a human being. And you are not able to distinguish between the response both of them are generating. That means the machine is said to have passed the Turing test. Today, if your Swiggy order is delayed, or your Zomato order or a Blinkit order is not received, you have an option for chat. You go click on a few options, you get a response. Those response is not human generated, it is a machine who's actually giving you this. Imagine if I have a million orders in India at morning 8 a.m. or at evening 7:30 p.m. Right? Do you think there are people to sit and reply to that a million responses? Impossible. Right? The whole of the Swiggies or the Instamarts or any of these, probably they might have 100 to 500 or maybe maximum 1000 people who are doing the customer support. But how are they able to meet these requirements? That is where they are using elements like AI. Then comes the element of machine learning, which I just demonstrated to you, ability of a machine to learn from a transaction. Now what all can a machine learn? A machine can learn, a simple example, whenever this happens with me, whenever I travel, and I travel to a large extent because I speak on many of these conferences or events, many a times the moment I land, within a few seconds I get a message from Uber which says, this particular airport you will have to go here for the Uber zone. How is that Uber, which is learning from this particular information? It has realized that I was in aeroplane mode for quite some time. I switch on the aeroplane mode and my GPS indicates that I am somewhere near the airport. A combination of these indicates that I have just landed, and therefore it gives me a suggestion. Now this is a very simple machine learning algorithm, but it can get complex as it keeps on going, and that is what banks are using today. Banks are using machine learning algorithm to identify fraud patterns. Example, I am making a credit card payment of a particular amount and I know this is my average spend. Anything which goes beyond these outliers, I immediately get a call or I get an automated message, please press 1 or 2 to confirm or reject it. Right? And that's where machine learning comes into. The third element in AI is deep learning, and deep learning in a simplest language is ability of a machine to identify an object, right? And let's do a small exercise now. Are we okay with a fun activity, right? Please note, I do not know Bengali, but I'm going to speak Bengali now. Are we ready? Hi, I'm going to ask you questions in English. Will you please help me answer in Bengali?
Certainly, I'd be happy to help. Please go ahead with your questions.
Can you tell me what is the significance of Rasgulla in Bengal?
Certainly. রসগোল্লা একটি বিখ্যাত মিষ্টান্ন যা বাংলার সাংস্কৃতিক ঐতিহ্যের একটি গুরুত্বপূর্ণ অংশ। এটি সাধারণত ছানার বল মিষ্টি সিরাপের মধ্যে ডুবিয়ে তৈরি করা হয় এবং এটি
What else do you think is famous dessert in Kolkata?
In Kolkata, one of the most famous
I
desserts
want you
is
to answer only in Bengali, please.
অবশ্যই কলকাতায় রসগোল্লা একটি সবচেয়ে জনপ্রিয় মিষ্টি। এছাড়াও মিষ্টি দই আপনার আরো কোনো প্রশ্ন থাকলে জানাতে পারেন।
Okay. I want you to look into your camera lens and tell me where do you think I am?
It looks like you're in a conference hall or an event.
And what makes you think that I'm in a conference hall or an event?
I see a stage, lighting, and a gathering of people seated in what appears to be an audience setup. These elements are common in conference or event spaces.
Does it look like a professional gathering or it is probably something to do with a Saturday entertainment night?
It appears more like a professional gathering, given the formal seating arrangement and the presence of a stage setup. It seems like a conference or a seminar.
What topic do you think I'm speaking about?
It seems we're discussing a topic related to finance or accounting, given the setting. Are you speaking at a professional event?
Yes, I'm speaking on a professional event. Thank you. Now you understood what machine vision is, right? And this is what is the meaning of deep learning, ability of a machine to see, visualize and answer, right? It can go to such an extent where it can also tell you how many people are there on the auditorium, right? And I can also ask a question, how many people are attentively listening to my class? Right? So whatever are the possibilities. So which means, I hope you're able to understand how the world is changing. Earlier, my dear friends, this was not there. Remember, the biggest thing with the chat GPTs of the world have created is that the ability of this technology hamara haath mein hai, which was not there in the past, right? And that is where the last element comes in, generative AI, ability of a system to generate. What can it generate? It can generate a simple text, it can generate a simple program, it can write a code for you, or for all you know, it can also sing a song. Whether you like it or not, a very funny story I happened to read. February 14th, one of the college student, she got couple of love letters, and interestingly both the love letters had similar text. She was a little shocked that how would a person think so much alike and draft this particular love letter, and little later did she realize that the love letter was a letter written by, right? So now you understood how kids are using AI for different personal purposes, but let's also see how professionally these can actually make a lot of sense. The single distinguishing factor between the traditional model of computing and the current model of the computing is what you see over there, right? And to give a simplest example, I give the data and I give an output, and I ask the computer to create a program on its own. Let's see how that works. So I go to this website called Llama Coder, and I'm going to give a simple use case, and I'm going to say, help me build a depreciation calculator under the Companies Act 2013 under SLM method. Allow me to choose the type of asset, and you should and the app should calculate depreciation. Right? A simple prompt which I have written. And by the way, in the world of generative AI, whatever we use is called as prompt. If search is for Google, prompt is for generative AI, right? So it is taking a few seconds for me to compile because of the internet connectivity. It might be a little slow. I will come back to this. But okay, it's already started. So can you see on the right hand side, it is actually writing the program, right? And interestingly, we will see whether this program, again, I am not guaranteeing that this will work in the first instance, but in the past, whatever I've used, it generally tends to work. And here is your depreciation calculator ready while I'm just speaking. Probably by the time you have 3 sips of tea, I think your app is ready, right? So I can choose an asset type, let's say building. I enter the cost of asset, simplicity say 10,000, right? Useful life of 5 years, and enter a salvage value of 1,000, or sorry, 100. Right? And then it says your annual depreciation is 1980. Right? I hope you are able to understand what we are talking of, right? And these sort of technologies, my dear friends, is a click of a button away. Did we think that we could have these sort of things? No. Day before yesterday, I was reading a LinkedIn post of one of the CEOs who said, there is an app called DocuSign. I'm not sure how many of them have come across. This is basically a digital signing app where I send you an email. You can sign it over an email itself and you can send it back to me, fully encrypted and compliant under the Information Technology Act. Now, he was arguing that the DocuSign app is very expensive and he was asking for suitable alternatives. Some of the people, netizens, keep on replying and they were saying try Zoho Sign, all of those. One fellow said, why not I take this as a challenge? In 2 days, with ChatGPT and with Llama Coder or equivalent, some of the sites, he created an entire digital signing application. 2 days. Right? And this is the drastic change which AI has done for us. Ability to give some of these very interesting use cases in our hands. But then, what is very important is to understand how to use it. And this would be a simple slide where we understand where we can use it. 3 broad pillars. You can use it for a machine as a vision. I showed you an example of a machine vision. Speech recognition, where I was speaking and your chat GPT was able to understand. And natural language processing. Most of you type any information. When you're typing, as you type, can you see your words getting auto-corrected? That's the very basic natural language processing where the system is able to understand your intent and basis that you're able to get your sentence corrected. On the processing bucket, you have what is called information processing. It can take loads of data and process that information for you. Let me show you a simple example of this. I have a very simple Excel file with me. All that I'm going to do is choose this entire data set. There is an option called analyze data. And if I ask this Excel to analyze data, it is automatically analyzing and giving some decisions. And let me tell you, this tool is not something which came after ChatGPT. It was there much before ChatGPT. Right? So the very basic elements of AI were already built into Excel. The beauty is not this, of course, sorry, I had to choose the entire data set. Let me analyze this data once again, because it shows us field 1, field 2. The beauty is, by me writing a prompt, my Excel can do analysis. Look at this. It tells me that there has been occasions where on 4 times or 3 times, my sales were an outlier. And what is an outlier? Anything which goes beyond the normal average. A simplest example, Most of us, due to our professional commitments, it so happens that we go home typically after 7 or 8 p.m. One fine day you went home at 4 p.m. and your family was shocked. What is the first question they ask you? Sab theek hai? This is an outlier, right? Similar lines, an outlier in a financial system is basically any transaction which goes beyond the normal course. The challenge or the beauty is not this. Something which I really like is I can chat with my data, right? And let me show you that. Sales amount by color. I just typed sales amount by color. I'm getting a chart, right? I don't like this. I want sales amount by user ID. Okay, chart is not great. I want a tabular information. Let's do something different. Min and max of sales per user ID. Are you able to see the difference? Right? And look at this. I'm just zooming in the interest so that it's visible for everybody. It has user ID. What is the maximum sales? What is the minimum sales? Don't you think this is the type of analysis we want? And this, my dear friends, is exactly the concept of processing, information processing. In fact, learning from data, it is where it is learned from the data and giving you some analysis. Of course, I cannot show you a planning and exploring agent. It is for a different use case. And last is the action of image generation, speech generation, handling object. This is basically into more of robotics and navigating an obstacles where it goes into different bucket. Now, given these things, what has the ChatGPT era done? And this image gives you an answer for that. There is a kid who is admitted in the hospital. There is a nurse who says that I need to inject a medicine into you. And the kid says, can you not give me a wireless treatment? Right? And let me tell you, that is the trend. This is happening with our employees. This is happening with our regulators. This is happening with our clients. And this is also happening because of the Gen Z divide. The Gen Z believes that they want a different type of a work culture. Many of them say that, hey, during an interview, I feel that my article staff is interviewing me rather than me interviewing the article staff. Right? The reason is because, please understand, we are in an era where there is so much of knowledge. Please understand, earlier, 10 years back, 20 years back, it was very simple. The demand supply ratio was very different. There were 10 article staff and probably, 3 to 4 CA firms or maybe 10 CA firms, right? And they probably felt that, okay, I know these CA firms or somebody give me a recommendation, I will be able to go there. Today the era is reverse. The demand supply ratios have changed, which means they want to pick and choose which is best. I had a case where one of them said, are you using AI in office? I said yes, right? And this is where some interesting conversations have taken place. Be that as it may, but what is important for you to realize is the concept of the chat GPTs are driven based on what is called LLM, large language model. By the way, this image is created using AI. I wrote a prompt to AI saying, give me a very, very simple way in which I can explain large language model using a simple image, right? Which AI you use, those are different stories, probably chai pe charcha. But yes, look at the scenario. A user sends a question, an LLM has a set of knowledge which it is being trained on, and you get an answer. How many of you have seen this movie called Lage Raho Munna Bhai? The Munna Bhai Part 2. And you notice that there is suddenly the main the hero, I think it was Sanjay Dutt, I think, right? So suddenly he says that Gandhiji tells him everything. Have you seen that sort of an episode? And there is one of these media interviews where 3 questions were asked and Gandhiji at that point of time does not answer him. You remember the scene? And it so happens after 5 minutes Gandhiji answers. Right? That Gandhiji which you saw, understand it to be an LLM, where it is trained with some amount of data, and you ask anything outside its training set, it will not be able to answer until an external event triggers or updates that information. But today what's happening, these LLMs not only are getting trained, they are also linked with the live external world where they can feed and learn information. I'll show you one such example, is an interesting app called GROK, Grok. And by the way, sometimes did you see that somewhere there was a small checkbox which happened the moment I logged into this website? The AI was checking whether I was a human. Right? I'm sometimes fascinated by this, where I have to prove that I'm a human being to an AI, but that is how technology is, right? And you can see here, Grok 3 happens to be one of the most advanced reasoning capability model which is currently operating. It is based upon certain statistics. I will not say that this is the only one of the advanced. They launched two very, very interesting concepts called deep search and think. Deep search is a capability where it can search the internet up to 10 to 50 resources at 10 to 15 seconds, compile all of them and give you an entire summary. And I'm going to show you that. Of course, it is going to take some time. I will show the prompt and little later we will come back to you, right? Likewise, think is an ability of this to understand, visualize and give you a scenario, right? And let's take a simple exercise where I say deep search, right? And I say act as an expert in understanding new business opportunities in the region of Kolkata and help me identify top 5 interesting professional venues for CAs to explore so that they can begin a new line of practice, right? Analyze some of the top trends in news, Twitter, LinkedIn and other sources and give me ideas, right? And this is deep search. And can you see on the left hand side what it does? It says it is thinking, then it is saying analyzing business, and the beauty of this entire thing is, can you see it is going through all these web pages? Are you able to see this? And it will do a lot of these analysis. What it gives to us is secondary. But I'm talking about the ability of some of these AI to do these interesting things, right? And that, my dear friends, is a significant milestone compared to where we started off a couple of years back, right? And with the era of ChatGPT, as I said, the most important thing is called as prompt. And this is one image which I want all of you to remember in the back of your mind, because when you write a prompt, you need to make sure that you have these few characteristics which is written in your text, because writing a prompt itself is an art. And you need to tell how the AI engine has to operate. You need to tell how the AI engine has to think. You need to tell what exactly you want it to do. You can give examples, you can give formats, you can give constraints, don't do these. You can ask for a professional tone, you can also have delimiter, data, techniques, and the list is endless, right? And if you have seen this very carefully, this is exactly what I written in this particular prompt. Act as an expert in understanding business opportunities. That means I have given a persona and I've said in the region of Kolkata, I've given context, instruction, identify top 5 interesting professional venues. I've given an example, refer in news, Twitter, LinkedIn, and what is the format in which I want, what are the constraints. Of course, I've not chosen all of these 10 which you can see, but yes, they can definitely be making sense. right? And with this, your prompt writing capability will increase. And let me tell you, in case you are interviewing anybody in the near future, please ask them a question on what is prompt writing and how would they write prompts, right? It is okay even if their English is broken, but as long as they are able to write a prompt and get the output, it is well accepted. But at the same time, you need to know the limitations, which we'll address it towards the end, right? So coming back to this, it has done some research and it suggested that Kolkata IT BPO sector is growing. It seems food processing, it gives the various sectors, and it gives me some themes based on which it is actually done some sectoral analysis. Now, those of you who are into valuation, those of you who are into market segment research, those of you are probably thinking like a PhD scholar. You have a ready-made tool which is available which can do 10x. And let me tell you, this is not just with Grok. It has its own alternatives in the form of chat GPT as well. I may not be able to show this in the interest of time, but can you see this option called deep research? It performs quite similar set of things, right? In fact, yesterday I had asked it to help me out with certain use cases for CAs, because I keep on reflecting upon this, and it gave me a bunch of these, and all of this was done using deep research, where it gave me, can you see over here, it says research completed in 6 minutes, referring from 20 sources. And if I give this breakup, it tells me how it actually taught. And this is where the AI world is giving you a new perspective and dimension. It is giving what you perhaps did not easily get or have, right? So that's basically on the prompting. Few things before I wrap up. How much time do I have, sir? Another 10 minutes? 10 minutes, okay. So few things, because I know many of them keep on saying chat GPT ko kaise use karna hai. And by the way, sometime back I showed you image vision. I asked you to answer a question and it replied in Bengali. I used chat GPT only for that, right? And here is my conversation which I had. I cannot read it. Hopefully you know how to read it, because I am new to this language, but yes, right? But any which case, right? So I'm just trying to give you a scenario, and I'll give you how wild can it go, right? And I'll show you some of the past information of the prompts which I've done, right? And I've been using extensively since a little more than 2.5 years, but nevertheless, this is, I was trying to create some apps as well, but anyways, I'll not go into that. I will just show you one very interesting analysis which I did. Count number. If I'm able to retrieve it, I'll be able to give you. Can you see this image? What does this image look like? Airport, right? It's a typical airport queue. This was Bangalore airport at about 5:30 a.m. in the morning, right? Probably 5:30 a.m. in the morning. Me being me, I always like to do a lot of experiments with AI. So I took a picture. Of course, faces are not very clear, so therefore I was able to upload this. And I told, hey, can you do one small math? Just tell me how many people are there here. A very simple math, right? And can you see what the answer it gave me? Right? I am not going to argue whether it is right or wrong, but don't you think at least 1,000 plus people are here? Easily, right? Because 4 flights or 5 flights in that morning, and I did a rough count. On an average, a flight would have about, what, 180 seats? Right? So if it is 10 flights in the morning, and because I was able to see that in the schedule, 10 flights into 1,000, 1,080 is roughly around this number. Are you with me? Right? And to me, this number seemed right. Now you would have probably got an idea how the government is perhaps saying in the Kumbh or the Prayagraj, how did 60 crore people probably come in? Right? And it is said that the 60 crore people is almost twice that of a US population. My goodness. right? In just span of 15 to probably 45 days, right? I think roughly about 45 days. Now that is the type of dynamics which the Indian population have, and that is why when you are using any of the AI solutions within the Indian context, by writing your prompts better, you get a better output. You could say, give me in the Indian era, give me from a Indian CA perspective. Try to make it more desi in terms of your prompt so that you get your desi outputs, right? Now, when it comes to ChatGPT, I'll talk about 5 things which you should always remember. There are other solutions as well, but in the interest of time, I'll just stick on to ChatGPT because most of us are using, right? First, how do I customize ChatGPT? And this is nothing but all these elements which I spoke. There is one single button where you can customize everything. And that is you go to a ChatGPT, right? On the top corner you have your name or initials. You will find an option called customize ChatGPT. Are you able to see this? If you click this, this feature was released in January of 2025, and it talks about very basic things how you want ChatGPT to respond. So I have said I want it in a professional tone. Now please look at this. If I simply click on the option called witty, look at it, what says, use quick and clever humor when appropriate. Chatty, be talkative and conversational. Encouraging, use an encouraging tone. I hope you are able to get this. Now this, my dear friends, is nothing but the persona which you are defining and the context, right? You can keep on going and defining. There is something called Gen Z. Talk like a member of Gen Z, right? Straight shooting, skeptical, poetic. Use poetical, lyrical tone, right? And of course, you cannot use all of them at once. It will get confused, right? I know khichdi is a good item, but using it in our profession is dangerous, right? And what else it wants about you, and you can define all of this, right? There's a first feature called customizing in ChatGPT. The second feature is in the settings. You make sure that the data controls are turned off. The reason why it is suggested, in the event you are sharing probably a not so confidential, if it is highly confidential, never share, because these machine learning algorithms learn from it, right? If it is not so confidential, right, and if you feel that I want it to answer but it should not learn from it, you could probably improvise this model for everyone, make it off, right? The third thing which you should know in a ChatGPT is on the extreme left, you have what is called Explore GPT. This is like a Play Store. Lot of interesting custom apps are being built, and this is the same model based on which our institute has built what is called as the CA GPT, which you log into the website, you will be able to see a lot of these GPTs. Only requirement is you need to authenticate by way of your username and password, which is your membership ID, and OTP will come. Only then you'll be able to access. Go towards the end, you also have Industry Forum GPT, very useful for you to prepare financial statements for the current year, where each, and of course I need to log in because the login expired, each and every industry which is listed in India, categorized by their name or the category, their financial statements are being fed into this GPT, which you can use it for analysis. What extent you want to use, the options are yours, right? In fact, a simple use case which I can think of is you are approaching a new audit which a client has appointed you in the chemical industry and you don't know what is the risk. Go to the industry GPT and ask what are the risks which as an auditor I need to be concerned about. Read the management disclosure analysis and help me out, right? It gives you a plethora of options. Just an FYI. Coming back. So we spoke about custom GPTs, and I said there are a lot more custom GPTs which I leave it for you to explore. And then you also have an option called create on the top corner. So I'll just click on my GPTs where I've already created some of the GPTs. In the interest of time, I will probably not create it and show it to you, but I had created a very small utility called as income tax comparison. Compares the income tax 1961 and the income tax bill 2025. I'm just going to click on this. If I click on edit, I can go click on this create option, chat with the GPT and create this, or I can go and configure this by myself by uploading whatever I want, and right inside I can preview. And the beauty is I can share this Anybody with a link, including you people, can use this, right? And to create a GPT, you need to have a paid account. To use the GPT, you don't require a paid account, right? I hope you're able to understand. So those are essential things which will probably help you out. Coming back to my GPT element, so I quickly gave you a perspective of customizing, security checking, prompt writing. I show you examples. You see a GPT, I showed you a lot of things, explore GPT, and creating of custom GPT, right? And what are the types of things you can get typically from a finance professional? You can ask for checklist, you can ask for a matrix, you can ask for a risk control matrix. RCM is not reverse charge mechanism, it's a risk control matrix. Charts, tables, right? The list is endless. You give a context, it tries to create it. Now the next interesting thing which is evolving in the LLM world is a concept called as RAG, retrieval augmented generation. Now many a times what happens, a chat GPT answers questions from random information. But I do not want ChatGPT to go outside. I want it to answer only from a specific information and not do anything outside it. I'm going to show you an example for that. So I'm going to go to the CA GPT, right? And I'm going to ask, probably pick up GST and Indirect Taxes Committee GPT, right? So I think I've already loaded there, so in the interest of time. So I have the ICA GST Indirect Tax Committee. What is it supposed to do? Help me answer questions relating to GST. But I am going to ask a question. Help me understand if sale of shares is taxable under income tax. Are you with me? We all know that this is an income tax subject, whereas I'm asking a question to a GPT, right, which is on indirect tax, right? Now what it will do is, it will search its knowledge and let's see what the response it gives. It will be able to give you some sense of an answer, but the real trouble is, this is not the purpose for which this GPT was created. You're able to understand? The purpose of the GPT was what? Indirect tax, right? Whereas it is answering a question on income tax, right, or direct tax. And this is where the RAG model comes into picture, where you define boundaries. And I'll show you an example of RAG, and probably with that we can open it for questions. I have created a very, I would not use the word exactly RAG, but it is actually a Google LLM notebook where I can upload a lot of resources and it will answer only from that resources. So let's say, for example, I've created a GST bot, right? You can see on the left hand side what are my sources. I can add multiple sources. It could be a Google Doc, Google slide, link, paste, right? And I can load up to how many sources? 50. I've just loaded 4 just as an example, and I'm going to ask a question relating to help me understand if sale of shares is taxable under income tax. Let's see what it is able to answer. See, it goes back and says the sources provided discuss treatment of security including share under the GST, but they do not contain information under income tax. Are you able to understand the difference? And this is what the 2025 will have. More and more of RAG models will be deployed to make the GPTs more and more specific and more contextual, right? And this is an example of a CA GPT. I think we spoke about all of these, right? And of course, there are a bunch of tools to explore. But hopefully I gave you a simple message in the required time. I don't want to be taking too much time. But the key elements for you, my dear friends, as professionals, please understand, unless we experiment with these technologies, we will not get a hands-on perspective. And the beauty about asking or how to experiment, you yourself can keep on creating. And I'll show you one case, because this is my personal favorite case, where I have written a code, a very simple code, and that code will help you to classify certain things, right? So I'm just creating I have simply said, this is the folder where I have data. In this folder, I have different types of file. Create a simple script which will organize data for me, right? And I run this code on an Excel sheet. My entire data gets classified, right? So you're able to get an understanding what extent I can do it, because in the interest of time I may not be able to show you a demo, but that's exactly what you can go. And the last part, right, is something called as agentic AI, where the world is heading into, where you can build certain autonomous things which can do action on its own and give you more information. So u.com is one example where you can probably go visit and create your own agentic AI, where you can go and customize it. For example, if I click on marketing, I can say as ghostwriter, right? And it can do a ghostwriting of a blog or a social media post, and it can search and give me what it can actually do. And before I wrap up, let me talk about what the world of the future is entitled. A person who today posts something on social media, we think that they have a lot of knowledge and information. Maybe yes, maybe no. But behind the scenes, what happens? Let me tell you, right? I go to a Grok or a Twitter. I search what are the key trends which are going on a particular topic. I take those trends, put it to ChatGPT and say, give me optimized which trend I should write a post. It gives me a trend. I take that, put it to humanizer.ai. It will generate the content in a human generated format. I take that information, put it to grammarly.com. It does all the grammar correction. I take that content and put it to an app called AI PPT or gamma.app. It creates a PPT. I take that content, put it to pictorally.com. It creates a video, and that is what is published. Right? On a lighter note, when you type for Mother Teresa fighting poverty, unfortunately, you will get images like this. This is just to indicate that the world of AI is not free from error and bias, right? I can speak hours together on AI and bias, but the only requirement which I would suggest is any sort of an AI generated output, please double check what its validity and accuracy is. There was a case where a Bangalore tribunal had to take back a judgment which was published, and they took it back because the ChatGPT had created what is called as a hallucinated output. We do not know whether the tribunal's fault or the representing person. We'll not go into the details, but I'm just talking about what is the impact which it can create. The last question, which many of them keep on asking me, sir, where do I get started in the AI journey, right? So the steps would be very simple. Identify the need in your profession, right? Where are you feeling that automation technology you need to bring up? Explore and research and identify. Probably there are customized solution or maybe some solution which you have to create. Do some bit of testing, commit, develop some standard procedures, and repeat this exercise. And this is how we as professionals in this AI world will slowly over a time prosper. On that note, a simple example of activities which can be automated in our CA office I've just listed out. You could probably start with simple steps like this and grow up the ladder. Thank you so much for the patient hearing. I conclude with one last statement. The world's biggest problems are the world's biggest opportunity. Thank you so much.
Sir, there's a question, so we'll take one question in the interest of time, and then I'll ask Rupesh to please offer a vote of thanks. Before he offers a question for you.
I have one question, sir.
Yes, sir.
You just mentioned about the decision of the Bangalore Income Tax Appellate Tribunal recently reported. In our office also we had a similar experience. We were utilizing GPT for a particular complex opinion to be given to a client. But our practice is what we get from ChatGPT, we cross-verify it with reference to our Taxman, ITR, CTR and other publications. We also came across 3 decisions which were not reported on the
yes.
Information given in ChatGPT. So all of us must doubly check the output from the ChatGPT. It is not foolproof. This is my personal experience, and it has happened in the case of a case reported before the Bangalore Income Tax Appellate Tribunal.
Yeah. So my sense would be, depending upon the use case, decide which AI solution can probably help you out, right? Now, assuming you have a case law history for last 5 years, you can load that into a Google LLM and it can probably search and give you along with an authentic source, right? So the way of searching has to undergo a change, but it doesn't mean that any AI generated output you will blindly take it for granted. Yeah. Any other questions? We are good. Thank you so much.
So I would request Rupesh to please offer a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Good evening, everyone. It gives me an immense pleasure to offer formal vote of thanks to CA Narsimhan sir. Sir, first of all, I would like to thank for accepting our invitation and coming all the way from Bangalore. Sir, thank you, sir. Sir, session was very interesting and it was very insightful and thought-provoking. Sir, your ability to make the concept into simple made this session very interesting and educational. So you gave the examples in real world like AI usage of in Swiggy, Zomato, of deep understanding of machine languages and prompt writing, use of chat GPT, etc. Sir, these are really very helpful in our day-to-day life. Sir, I am sure all the audience present here must have benefited by your presentation, and we look forward to attend more this AI experience in future, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request CA Aranta Padiyeju to come forward and offer a momentum. Give a huge round of applause. Thank you, sir. Now I request Neeraj Bhaiya, CA Neeraj Agrawal to lead the next session.